Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a news edition of the Garden Report. Checking in late here tonight after covering some events earlier in the day. And I did want to weigh in on the Damian Lillard news. Some big news earlier today that he will demand a trade with a preference to land with the Miami Heat. Joe Cronin, Portland Trailblazers, come out in short order and say they'll work with him on leaving Portland, something I expected this offseason, something that makes sense timing-wise since the Trailblazers stand far from competitiveness around him. He probably will play his last couple seasons here in his prime, and he wants to win. Hasn't closed in on a championship yet in his career, sees Miami as where he wants to land for the future, and hopes to live there, I'd assume, too. Wouldn't mind living in Miami after all those years in Portland. Just a tough weather city. Nothing against Portland. So, are the Blazers going to comply? And should anyone else step up here, specifically the Celtics? First question, should the Blazers comply? No. And Cronin said as much today that they're going to do what's in the best interest of the team, and that is not Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and all of those future picks. Now, in these situations, it seems like repeatedly the player ends up getting the upper hand and the organization folds and we end up stunned by the return for a star. That can't happen here if Portland wants any hope. Does that mean it won't happen? I'm not going to bet on that because, again, we've seen what happens in these situations. Most recently with Bradley Beal, a different situation because he had the no trade. But another in a string of situations where a player highlights a team they want to end up on. Doesn't look like that team has the assets to land that player, but they do it anyway. Hero, a little interchangeable with Shaedon Sharpe and some of those scoring guards on Portland. Simons, don't think he makes a ton of sense for them. Robinson, even after a solid postseason, slightly negative value, I think. I've said repeatedly, and Lillard said this on an Instagram Live, I believe, a couple months ago. Brooklyn is the place. Ben Simmons' salary mostly matches the money here. 2 years left. It's a flyer. I don't have hope left for Simmons, but he is a worthy flyer as a salary matching piece that isn't on a long-term contract anymore. At least one that disrupts Portland's rebuild significantly there. Less pressure, less scrutiny, fewer expectations. Again, we've said this before with Simmons, but give it a shot if you're not building anything else quickly where you're at. Dorian Finney-Smith, a wing defender, something Portland needs going into the future. An older player, of course, but a guy I think makes some sense there to keep as a veteran alongside those younger up-and-coming players, at least as an asset. And Phoenix picks. The future ones, I'm sure Portland will want. I'm sure the Nets would stick out for the near-term ones. I'm sure they end up having to seed most, if not all of them, just to get this done and get that front step, particularly while moving off Simmons in front of these other teams. And he makes a ton of sense with the Nets. He wants to play with Mikal Bridges, got Cam Johnson there, Nick Claxton. That suddenly becomes a far more dangerous team in the East than they were as the 6th seed a year ago. They got swept round one. Should the Celtics get involved? I know that's the answer you want to hear now. Ominously, Jaylen Brown hasn't signed his Supermax extension yet. Could happen any moment now. We'll probably go live when it does. In the meantime, he could be moved for Lillard feasibly as matching salary, as matching value, new cornerstone for the Trailblazers, and in Brown's case, taking over a new team. I don't think that happens, though. Portland want Brown on a 1-year deal. I'd lean no, but maybe it's greater value than anything else they can get here. Would he sign there long term? Yes, it's possible. Should the Celtics do it? Younger wing for an older guard, a guard that's going to be making $63 million and at his age 36 season. As much as I think the Celtics need some frontline ball handling now and an identity shift on this team and an infusion of big salary to blow past that second apron line would make sense. I'm going to say no here. The miles worry me. Feels a little like the Kemba situation. And the Celtics have been down that road several times now with Kemba, Kyrie. A while ago, Isaiah running the offense, a smaller guard, one who could break down with high usage. And do you want to supplant Tatum at this point in his career? I think they traded Smart to try to bump him up the hierarchy there in terms of leadership in the room. And inserting a guy who would probably be looked at on this team, even as a guy coming in from the outside as the de facto leader, particularly if they trade Brown, don't think makes sense. And I don't think there's a deal here if the Celtics don't trade Brown. So something to watch still. Intriguing nonetheless, as Brown remains unextended. If that's how you say it. And we're brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel.com/Boston gets you $200 in bonus bets. MLB, an official partner of FanDuel, and as they race through their season, can make the games a little bit more interesting. You can make every moment matter more on FanDuel. It's FanDuel.com/Boston. $200 in bonus bets when you head over there. FanDuel.com/Boston. And AG1. Shout out to AG1. Go to drinkag1.com/garden for your year's supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with AG1, which is the same vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, probiotics, and more that you knew under a different name. It's AG1 now. Go to drinkag1.com/garden and get 5 travel packs, vitamin D, cool gear as well when you sign up for a subscription over there. I'm Bobby Manning. This has been a news edition of the Garden Report. Damian Lillard demanding a trade, the latest layer to this offseason. We'll have more here on the Garden Report and CLNS Media.